That was awesome.
Awesome.
I mean,
Awesome.
that's one of those things. She said it right at the very end. Why doesn't everybody know about this? And you could go down some serious how do you say that?
Conspiracy
Conspiracy
theories.
theory rabbit holes thinking
Right.
why. Why did we not learn about the fascia in nursing school? I mean, other than like she said, it's a bag around your organs. It keeps everything from just like falling into your pelvis as you walk around.
Yeah.
It's mycelium. It's
Yeah.
human mycelium. And for those who don't know what mycelium is, there is a network of fungus under the soil that all things on the face of the earth communicate through the flora, the fauna, the whatever, and maybe even with us, and we're not even aware of it. But
Right.
it is your intern. What did she say her TED talk was called? The mycelium in me. That was
I love that. I think we should include that link in this podcast as another video people can watch because that would probably be really interesting.
Yes, there was a bunch of things like as an optional, like a
Yeah.
non-required part of it.
Yeah.
And there were also, I wrote down a bunch of her podcasts. So anyway, we're talking about Sue Hitzmann, host of the podcast Anatomical Gangster and creator of the Method. She talked about the fascia and all of the amazing things that we're not taught in nursing school that the fascia does to regulate the autonomic nervous system, to, as kind of like what she's called the fire alarm of the body.
When you're in, yeah.
And these very simple ways that you can heal pain, you can regulate the autonomic nervous system, you can do all things with these her simple methodology, and her science knowledge behind it is just incredible. So this is a very rich podcast with a very dynamic lady who is 55 and looks like she's 25. I was not kidding. When
I
she said
know.
she's 55, I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Hmm. See what
Yeah.
happens when you take care of yourself?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, she is. She's like, I mean, if just for the way she advertises herself, she is her own advertisement. It's like, what are you doing? I'll have some of that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, amazing conversation.
It's kind of like going over your house. She's- I think I'm looking less corpsey though lately.
You don't look corpsey at all. No, not
Yeah.
at all.
What do you think of it?
I loved it. Um, I love the whole, it's becoming such a more dynamic system for people to study. And I always looked at it, like I was saying, through the lens of yoga,
Hmm.
because that's an
Yeah, you were
essence.
nodding the whole time.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
would, in yoga, that's one of the points of it all, right? It's to be present, it's to be in the body, it's to be communicating with it. So much so that if you're moving around and in a position and you feel discomfort or pain, it's staying there in the present moment, breathing, right? And you're connecting in essence with the fascia and having a release. So we just, depending on how you came to yoga, you have no clue of that. It's like an exercise routine.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to study it, I think, from a very authentic place. So it was really listening to her, taking me back to so many things that are similar to this in the philosophy.
Yeah, well, nurses, you are going to love Sue Hitzmann and her revelation about the fascia. This is not myofascial release. This is the fascia in the body that we were not taught enough about. And it is just an incredible educational event. Please enjoy Sue Hitzmann. Sue
Hi.
Hitzmann, we are so excited. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I can't wait
Why can't you wait?
because I'm just excited to hear what you guys want to know and what you guys are going to offer to the conversation. I can't wait.
Well,
Mhm.
so Wendy found you, and one of the things for RNegade is a continuing nursing education company. So nurses get continuing education credit for listening to this podcast. So one of the things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Karen, that's
Yeah.
such a great idea.
Well, it occurred to me, Wendy's heard the story, and I won't tell the whole thing, but the summary is my nursing license was up for renewal. And it was like the great philosopher Homer Simpson. Oh, I was procrastinating getting my continuing education 30 credit hours done. And I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast. He was interviewing James Nestor, who wrote the book called Breathe. And it hit me halfway up. I'm up on a mountain, halfway through the thing. I paused it and ordered the book off Amazon. And it just, I'm doing 30 continuing education every 2 weeks. I've got skin growing on my AirPods because I'm constantly listening and learning and health podcasts and YouTube videos and reading books and audiobooks and whatever. I'm like, this is so stupid. Why am I not getting credit for any of this? Because some, continuing education provider didn't give their blessing to podcasts. I'm like, well, that's stupid. So we got our providership. And we started our own podcast, but now we've invited other health podcasters whose podcasts qualify, check the boxes for what continuing education is. And that's how RNegade became. So for somebody like you, like I'm a nurse and I've heard of myofascial release, that's about
this
it.
This isn't myofascial.
I know, but I think I'm like most nurses where like when we talk about the fascia, that's all I know about. That's all I've ever heard about. And I know that I have listened to some YouTube videos on it, not in preparation to speak to you, but it's just kind of been this thing in the corner of my brain collecting dust, something I always want to get back to, because I know the therapeutic benefits and the health effects of it are massive.
Huge.
Yeah. So you're kind of one of those corner of my brain collecting dust things that I know that nurses not only will benefit for their own lives, but to give their clients another tool, like something else to recommend when you've run out of all the allopathic remedies.
We have quite a number of nurses who are MELT instructors. Like they actually help their nurse colleagues because y'all are giving a lot of energy out there in the world, and you're standing on your feet all day, and a lot of them are very empathic. So MELT really became an opportunity for them to deepen their appreciation and their understanding of the link that we make from fascia and the autonomic nervous system on stress and regulation. But one thing, we have CEUs for our education, but one that we don't have is one specifically for nurses. But the nurses who take it, they then apply it and they do get CEUs for it. But maybe you guys can help me figure out.
We can help you with that afterward for sure. Once we hit stop on record, we'll talk about that. But I would love for you to start. Just introduce yourself to our nursing audience. Actually, this goes out to the general public too. So just introduce yourself. What's your background? Where are you from? Why are you here? And why did you become fascinated in what you're fascinated about and developed your expertise in, and how then that became MELT? Please enlighten us first about you.
So I'm Sue Hitzmann. I'm the founder of the MELT method. I've basically, for the last 25 years of my life, over half of my life, I got a fascination for what fascia was. My background is in fitness. I started out teaching group exercise when I was like 17 years old. And I bit into this idea, if you ate right and you exercise, you were going to lead this healthy, active life. I, went on to study collegiately. I started getting certifications. I found Jim and Phil Wharton, who did active isolated stretching, and they kind of saw a hands-on gift in me and said, I think you're in the wrong industry. You should come over here to hands-on therapy. And I said, I don't want to be a physical therapist. That just sounds like a lot of health insurance nightmares from what I hear. And he goes, no, more like neuromuscular therapy. So I started taking these courses in neuromuscular therapy and how to help reintegrate the timing of deep stabilizing muscles in the body when they had gone faulty from injuries or things like that. And so by the time I'm in my late 20s, I'm thinking I'm at the peak of my career. I'm doing boot camp videos. I was on ESPN Fitness. I was like on a roll. And then one day I woke up and the bottom of my foot hurt me and I thought I stepped on a piece of glass. And so I kind of just thought something's wrong with me, but it'll go away.
Well, I just would like to pause for 1 second for people only listening to the audio. She says, by the time I reached my late 20s, and she looks like she's in her mid 20s while we're speaking to her.
So yeah, I know.
So please continue. So you must be doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think it's a real fountain of youth for sure in so many ways. But yeah, so I had that foot pain, and I mean, I went to sleep perfectly healthy. I had nothing as far as I knew wrong, and then I was suddenly limping, and it went on for just months and months and months, and nothing in my toolbox. Like, and again, I was touted as working with high performance athletes, getting them back out on the field faster. I thought I really had a handle on the human body, but I was kind of taught, no pain, no gain. As an athlete, you kind of just learn to work through pain.
Yes.
So after this had lasted for 5, 6 months, at this point, I'm exhausted. I had brain fog. My jaw hurt. I had headaches. I was fatigued all the time. I had to sleep in the middle of the day. Like my energy was just shot. And I thought something's really wrong with me. So I started going to doctors, and they either told me I was depressed, which it was like, no crap, I'm depressed. I'm a fitness professional. I can't walk. You'd be depressed too. My career is ending and I'm 28
Yeah, I'm
years
actually
old.
sad.
It's like, this sounds normal to me. So one doctor, kind of just prescribed shots. And then another one said to me, because of the fatigue I had, it might be autoimmune. They were suspecting I had lupus. And so I'm thinking to myself, it's you guys are missing something. And I just kept thinking to myself, the first diagnosis I had was plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
And when I was sharing with a friend of mine, it kind of felt like I had a run in a stocking, like it was going from my foot up my back into my head. And she had pointed out Tom Meyer's anatomy trains and said, there's this myofascial meridian. And I'm like, myofascial meridian, like, what's that? I mean, I just hadn't been introduced to the concepts. And it, when I kind of got the understanding of like, what is fascia? And then plantar fasciitis, I'm like, inflamed fascia. Could inflamed fascia actually be what's causing all my pain? And if that's the case, there's no exercise for that. How do you fix inflamed fascia? And what was lucky enough for me was in the late 90s, Google became a thing, and I typed in the word fascia on the internet. And I came upon this emerging field of neuroscience and fascial research that were not only trying to figure out the link between fascia and pain, but fascia and immune regulation, autonomic responsiveness, and aging. And so I went down this rabbit hole, and I've never come back the same. I started doing cranial sacral therapy, visceral manipulation, all these light touch therapeutic techniques. And I went from working on high performance athletes to the general public who were suffering with PTSD, trauma, pain that was unexplainable, right? People who just woke up and you couldn't turn your head to the right. And like, what's wrong with me? I slept funny. And I'm like, did you sleep with a comedian? I don't understand. Like, what do you mean you slept funny? So over these years, I really started to figure out what fascia was, not just as a mechanical and structural system, but as a system of inner support, kind of the inner tissue of your being, this frequency that fascia possesses, and that it's a stability system. And now science is showing fascia has 250 million sensory nerves living in it. So if you want to understand how you're sensing and feeling these words, proprioception, interoception, you're talking about the fascia as a system. So I think that's the incredible thing about fascia. It's the only substance in the entire body that can be classified as a tissue, an organ, and a system. Said nobody ever about anything. So it's a lot of controversy in fact in this
Certainly
topic.
no nursing textbooks.
Correct. Well, I'm going back to when I was starting to learn about it, I'm like, did I miss something in school? Because I don't remember anybody talking about fascia at all, except that it was a passive packing material that you chucked in the bucket to get to the good stuff and look at the muscles and the bones. And in 2004, when I met Gil Hadley, I started doing these layer by layer dissections. And even that, I was like, layer by layer, or what? And now suddenly we're dissecting the skin from the superficial fascia, from the deep fascia, from the perifascial tissues, like all these layers. And I'm like, I I want my money back from my degree. I like, what is this? Is a whole system of the body that sounds really important. And I became a founding member of the Fascial Research Society. We just finished out our 7th International Congress that I presented at. And what is phenomenal about the research and what's so profound about fascia is that we can really understand fascia now as being a substance in the body that can, it can link itself to the autonomic nervous system so it can transform and be transformed by the autonomic nervous system. So it can transform your autonomic regulation. It can be adapted by your autonomic nervous system. So I kind of think of them like a power couple in the body. So if you have stress, if you've got pain, you have probably a fascial problem that's being unaddressed. And if everybody who's listening, if any of you are like, well, I don't have chronic pain, so I'm not going to listen to any more of this podcast, I would just say I will guarantee every single one of us have felt the effects of what I call stuck stress in fascia. So I'm just going to point it out. Have you ever sat for long periods of time and when you get up, you feel like you aged 40 years because your joints don't work as well when you get up as they do when you sat down? Or you wake up as stiff as a dried out sponge left out overnight on your kitchen sink. And so the way that I try to explain it is that fascia, especially in the superficial layers, is very much like a sponge. When it's hydrated, it can move and adapt. It's amenable to tension and compression forces. It absorbs water very easily. And when you let tension or compression go, it returns to its ideal shape. But if a sponge is dehydrated, it doesn't move or adapt to tension and compression. It doesn't absorb water very efficiently. And when you take pressure away, it doesn't bounce back at all. And that's kind of what happens to us as we age, is that this tissue loses its elastic properties, and that affects the nervous system. Your sensory system, what's taking information from the body to the brain, breaks down. And now you're getting bad messages from body to brain, and your nervous system is designed to compensate, to move you. If something's wrong, it's not like it's going to pep you up. If it's not getting enough nutrient, that's why you feel so exhausted, right? It's not absorbing, it's not transporting. You get symptoms. And that's it, is most of us, when we get symptoms like I did, you suddenly start feeling your joints are achy or stiff. If you feel like fluids and fascia are kind of like a river, daily living's laying sediment down in the river's flow, and where it loves to live is in the spaces. So if you don't ever do anything about your fascia, your joints start to ache as you get older. And if you do what most people do, you pop pills. It's kind of like your fire alarm is going off when your toaster's on fire, and you walk over to the fire alarm and take the batteries out so you don't have to hear the fire alarm.
Oh, that beeping. I can't stand that.
but the toaster is still on fire. So what I've basically done is to educate people that when your body is sending you a signal that something's not right, instead of ignoring it or trying to quell the pain symptom, the curiosity is, can you address the system of the body that is causing the sounding alarm, and treat it so that you actually treat the cause of the pain points rather than the symptom of it, and transform how you feel in your body. That's what I do.
I'm already blown away. Go, Wendy.
I was going to say, so going back to the pain in your foot. Then if we look at that, what then technically was causing that? And what did you do to fix it? All of a sudden, how was there pain in your foot that was debilitating?
So I think, well, I mean, I would honestly say that I think my pain had an emotional origin to it.
That was going to be one of my other questions.
I really do, because I think I was uprooted, because a year to the day when my foot started to hurt, a year later, my dad died. And so I think on a frequency level, I think that it was like my whole energy field was getting thrown up into the air, because this person who was so controlling and demoralizing and all these things to me was suddenly going to leave the planet. And my whole life was about to change. So I think that there was an unearthing of my grounding. But I also think that what was going on was just an imbalance in my body's ability to maintain stability. And that's the thing I always tell people, is that you can't be efficiently mobile if you're inefficiently stable. And stability, what system in the body provides stability, is fascia. It is the stability system of your body.
Right.
So
it's stability, it's transportation. Like, we're taught, like, it's your circulatory system. That's where all the nutrients and everything gets transported, whatever. And your lymph, but that's when the lymphatic system, that's after all of the products of the immune system have fought their battles, and it prevents stagnant pools of goo from just accumulating everywhere.
Where's that fluid coming from? Is the interstitial fluids of fascia. What science is starting to understand is the interstitial fluids of fascia, where this is called the extracellular matrix on a scientific level. That's where nutrients are being transported and then ultimately going into the cells, and then any waste products are now then getting filtered out by the lymphatic system through pre-lymphatic channels. So here's the thing: if those pre-lymphatic channels are bogged down because the extracellular matrix isn't abundant in its motion, now your lymphatic system slows down, and now you have symptoms that seem completely unrelated to how you feel when you move. All of a sudden, you're gaining weight for no reason, you feel depressed, you're anxious, you have constipation, you have midday fatigue, but for as fatigued as you are in the day, at night you try to wind down, you can't fall asleep, and then you're waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because your endocrine system and your liver are getting overworked because they're trying to pull all these toxins out when you're finally in what they call a parasympathetic state, a state of rest and recovery, which is what happens when you sleep. Well, what happens when you're not sleeping? You're waking up the next day with a backlog of stuck stress, and now you have more problems, more accumulative stress, and that's what really creates such a lymphatic distress and creates immune dysregulation. And I'm telling you, fascia plays a leading role in all of these women that I have who talk about their, all these perimenopausal symptoms, all this menopausal trauma. I mean, I'm 55 and I barely had a blip of perimenopausal problems. And I think it's because I treat my connective tissue and I treat it as a system of stability. I support the system so that it does its job well. And with one of our new products, the Fascia Hydrator, it's this vibration tool that we've got. I know you guys are listening to this on the radio, but you guys can see this thing. Yeah. And we're in a 500-person pilot study because frequency and vibration can help to move lymph. But you have to have an open doorway to the lymph system, and that's where fascia really plays a role in immune regulation. And that's the big thing, is if you want to know how to remain healthy as you age, you should know about 3 systems of your body: your autonomic nervous system and how it monitors stress repair and digestion. You should know a little bit about your fascial system because it is the stability system. It's actually the communication system between your nervous system and your lymphatic system. And the third is your lymphatic system, because that's also helping you regulate hormones, metabolism, etc. So those are the systems everybody should know something about. And dare I say, in school and in education, even in nursing, how much did you learn about those systems?
No.
Like a little bit. I mean, again, I did a degree in that in exercise science. You'd think that they would have talked about fascia one time, and it was like, I don't know. I don't remember.
There's 2 major questions that like have just been like keep repeating in my head. Number one is it's you have pain in a specific area of your body, either chronic pain or or gut or a gut health or something like that. So conventional medicine treats that specific part, but the origin of the issue is in the tissue, could be somewhere completely different than where the pain or the symptom is.
Yeah, Karen, you're so nailing it. I mean, and that's the real problem with the way that we deal with pain. Like, even when people engage in self-care, like I always say, somebody's neck hurts them, the first thing they want to do is take a blunt object and jam it into their neck, like as if they're going to induce pain to make the body shut up, And I always think to myself, think of pain in your body like a child screaming out for your help. If your kid was screaming out for your help, you wouldn't walk up to him and assault them. You wouldn't punch him in the face.
Hit him with a Theragun.
You'd get, exactly, you would hit it with a Theragun, right? You'd get down at their level. You'd tell them to breathe. You'd give them a hug. You would soothe them. You'd want them to calm down first. And then you'd say, tell me what happened. And you would take information in. And then by that information, you would then take action. But when our bodies are screaming out for our help, our first inclination is to just assault the messenger. So most often the areas that you have pain, the perpetrators have long since left the scene. So oftentimes when I have people who have back pain, it really has a big origin to their footing and their gait pattern and their calf and how their hip stabilization is. And then their back is a problem. So when people say, oh, I'm just going to work on my core, or, your core is what we need to strengthen, I think we work way too far downstream. We got to start at the hands and feet, because here's the big punchline is, where does your autonomic nervous system gain the most sensory reception? It gains it from your hands and feet. I don't walk on my head. I don't walk on my back. I walk on my feet, and I touch everything with my hand. I don't reach into my bag with my elbow to get things. I use my hands. And it's an amazing human design that I don't think people give enough credit to, is we got like 30 some odd joints and bones in our hands and feet. And then we go from all these joints to 2 to 1, to a girdle, to a bunch of bones, to another girdle, to 1 to 2, and then a whole bunch of bones. So the thing that we know about fascia is it has mechanoreceptors in it, and these mechanoreceptors are sensory receptors, and very local to joints is where these mechanoreceptors are in abundance. So think of your joints kind of like GPS satellites. So you got a ton of satellites in your hands and feet feeding information to your brain about what's going on in the body. So if your hands and feet are full of stuck stress, it actually slows down the messengers and the way that your brain is communicating with the body. And we just don't even know that that's happening. We wait until we have arthritis, till our feet are killing us, till we can't walk right, our back, our neck is hurting. But what I've found is that people with back pain, and this was kind of what put me on the map, was that I started getting a ton of people who had back and neck pain. And the first thing I would do is send them home with a hand and foot treatment. And I would say, just do this for a week and then come back and let's just see if just treating your hands and feet makes your pain less. And they'd come back and they'd be like, I don't know what's in that ball, but like my back is not, I can bend over and pick up my shoes. I like, I'm not so stiff. I think
My subconscious mind just started very gently, like
your
massaging my hand. It's like she's
hand.
speaking our language. I didn't even know I spoke this language, but I'm like automatically just very gently wanting to do like care for my hands all of a
And
sudden.
that's so nice that you said it gently. Say it again, gently. Right? I mean, that's it. I think that we are in a world where everything is just so hard. And I mean, life's not here to be easy. Pain can be a great motivator. But I just think that when it comes to transformation, everybody's always like kind of, you know,
Yeah.
they got to bruise the body and you got
You're
to
gonna
assault
David
your
Goggins the shit out of this.
yeah, like you got to use curse words all the time and tell your body to fucking get on and do it, you know? And I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, you know, if you really want to feel better, soothing, self-soothing, quieting the stress response, and actually actively participating in boosting the body's repair, and it's what they call parasympathetic, the rest and restore regulator of the body. If you think of it like a seesaw, stress is we're inundated with it. From the moment people wake up, they're on their phone. They're right there. Before they go to bed, the first thing they're doing is they're looking at their phone, right? So we are on from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. Our husbands, wives, parents, kids, dogs, life, work, it's all stress. And then we wait until we sleep to have the balancing of our seesaw go back into balance. But you ask anybody who's over the age of 45, especially women, how's your sleeping going? And they're like, what's that? You know, you have kids, you don't sleep for a decade, right? You go through perimenopause, you don't know what sleeping is. Hot flashes are like a thing. All of a sudden you're waking up in the middle of the night just sweating your ass off. So why? Is there is a regulatory problem. You are, you know, aware that your ability to balance out the scale is off. So if you never really boost in a waking state your parasympathetic system, you wake up the next day with that backlog of stuck stress, your nervous system just starts thinking that's the balanced place. And that's where the tipping point comes, because under the autonomic nervous system is not just the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. There's the enteric nervous system. That's the gut regulator. And that gut regulator relies on the parasympathetic opportunity to balance, to down regulate stress, to digest your food, to transport nutrients, and ultimately push it toward the lymph to get waste elimination. So again, if our sleep is not happening, if we're overstressing the system, we become sympathetic dominant. And this is why so many women have so many hormonal dysregulation issues as they age. And we can do something about it. And this is what's, I think, amazing about what I've done. Like we've got, you know, 3,500 instructors worldwide. We've trained, you know, our clients to do this, hundreds of thousands of people. And the biggest thing that they say once they start melting is, I finally sleep through the night. I don't get up 6 times to go to the bathroom. I feel like I have more energy. I move easier. I think I breathe better and I feel more in my body. And I think we're trained to tune ourselves out. When we're in pain, that's what we want to do. We want to tune it out. That's why so many people caffeine up and wind down as they go to bed, right? We're never actively participating in realizing that we are the cause of our dysfunctions, not the world around us. It's how we react to the world that is causing our problems. And we just, I think a lot of times we become very victimized by pain. We become the victim of, oh, you know, my husband this, or my boyfriend that, or my cat this, and my dog that. Like it's everybody else's problem but yours. Like everybody is the criminal, and you know, poor you, poor you. But I really think that my goal in life is to empower people to realize that their body is asking for them to take control. It wants us to be in control of our system, and our physical form is very reliant on our emotional, chemical, neurological, and psychological stability. And fascia plays a role in every aspect of stability. I could link fascia to everything: neurological, chemical, hormonal, structural, any kind of stability that we could define, I could link fascia to.
You want to melt your way to resilience
That's it.
so that you're kind of unfuckwithable. Sorry for the swear, but that it just
Beautiful.
Yeah.
what you're saying is the world, oh, sorry, tilted you. Um, the world is going to throw stuff at you. I mean, that's the way of the world. So it's like the most important thing, what I'm getting for you is to build your resilience so that you don't accumulate the stress when the world throws stuff at you. And the way to do that is one of the ways is take good care of your fascia.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that, eating water-filled foods, sipping water frequently, having good relationships, and learning boundaries, listening, becoming a good listener, and really realizing that you're more than your emotions. People get very taken aback by their own emotions. They can't calm themselves down. Like, we actually have lost that art of awakening ourselves to our own habits, our own beliefs, whether they're true or not, right? So I think what melt is in essence is an interruption in your stress mindset, the chatter, to get you to quiet down. There's embodied in melt is mindful meditation, breath work, fascial hydration techniques. There's quieting of the stress reflex, and also stabilizing us through these very controlled techniques to restore function, to restore stability, to restore control. And I think the hook of melt is that we take a very therapeutic stance of assessing, treating, and reassessing, and people notice a change in their body in 10 minutes. And that's huge,
Wow.
especially for somebody who's in pain. To go from a point of like, I feel pain, to suddenly I feel my body is different. That's exciting, because if you can feel that you can control how you feel, that's the first doorway into transforming the autonomic aspects of your body that are actually in control of most of your living experience.
I'm just real quick. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I keep getting zzz, zzz. Okay. Wait, no, that's a flashlight, Karen. Okay, it's distracting me from you.
Let's all take a sip of water while you do
Yeah,
it.
well, I no, I'm so insecure. Is this one okay? It's been drowned. You're like, yeah, because it doesn't go because is it the bubbles? Am I
It's
hurting
better
myself?
than beer.
Oh, that's not much better. Okay, so you're like, so that's a great segue. So you've done a great kind of page one, chapter one view for us about the fascia, all the things that it affects in our body, all the things that can affect it. So what do we do about it? You've mentioned sipping water, but so I'm coming to you. I don't have any really pain right, but I've got a bit of IBS
Yeah.
at the moment from some, well, I won't get into that, but Wendy knows. We've had a little behind the scenes, and every time I open my email, I feel like I'm drinking poison.
Ah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and acknowledging that is so huge too. When you literally, like, when you're reading things, you're like, my gosh, this is just, it's assaulting me. It's the same thing as social media. People need to take a social media diet. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm actually gotten off social media because I can't even stand. I get task paralysis when I go to be on
yeah,
technology at all. So I've kind of
yeah.
like I stopped listening to the news or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm being called to take care of myself because the metaphor, it's a very aggressive metaphor, but I do when I open my email, I feel like it's poisoning me, but that's exactly what you were saying. It's the
Yeah,
world. So
yeah.
how if I was coming to you, what's the first thing that you would tell me how to build my resilience?
I'd
Yeah.
I'd 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 watch you breathe.
Mhm.
I'd watch you breathe. I'd see
No.
I'd see how your breath is entering and leaving your body, because Life starts when we really take our first breaths. Now we're controlling it. We're not in, I mean, we are a process. We developed ourselves in the womb. Our parents did not develop us, unbeknownst to some people, that we create our placenta, we create our form, and we develop
That's
ourselves.
beautiful. I've never heard that said that way before. That's
Yeah,
really
we
cool.
we do
Yeah.
it.
So if you're a nurse, what's the feeling you associate with going to the mailbox and seeing that notification that says your license is up for renewal in 90 days? Do you go, yes? Or, oh, right? Why? I mean, it's not like they're hard to get. You have 2 years and there's so much free stuff out there. And yet we drag ourselves across the finish line, kicking and screaming, because they suck. They're boring and antiquated, and the delivery mechanism is inconvenient. And the thing is, if you're a nurse, we love to learn. We're always listening to podcasts and audiobooks and YouTube videos because we're just curious. But we have to pick through this pile of crap so that we can remain a nurse. Well, we created RNegade.pro to change that. We wanted nurses to be able to get credit for the stuff that they're naturally inclined to do anyway. It starts with a podcast. And then we're creating courses, and we want everything we do to feel like what you're naturally doing. The research shows that that's how we learn and retain best. Check it out. Pick one. See what you think. So maybe when you go to the mailbox next time and get that notification, you'll have that, yes.
Yeah, we're doing that to both protect us from the mother and take nutrient in, but filter it before it comes in. So we create a filter. Isn't that freaking phenomenal? We create our placenta, right? So as a human, when we finally get ourselves out of the womb and we are needing to live, we need to breathe. And if you watch a baby and that nice gentle breath that they have and that consistent breathing, that whole body breath that you see vibrate through their bodies, we lose that. I mean, you watch people inhale, they're up in their shoulders. They can't really take a full breath. They can't slow down their breath, right? So most often what I do is with Melt, I attune people back to themselves. I invite them back into their bodies to sense what they feel. And I think that's sometimes a very big ask, because when people are in pain, again, they want to tune themselves out. They haven't been in their bodies for a while. A lot of times people come into my office and I kind of let all of their energy follow their body because their physical body's in there. But you're waiting for the whole energy field of that human to finally enter the room, and then you close the door. So a lot of it is building awareness of what stuck stress feels like in the body before you have pain. And identifying it so that you can be proactive, not reactive. Because most of the time, by the time somebody's walking in my door, they've had problems for a long while. I get people with chronic problems: lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, cancer, back pain, surgeries that went wrong. I mean, I have the dregs of society who have just been kicked out of everything else, and they've just tried everything, and now they're desperate. So I've just tried to be an advocate to say, before you have pain, can you learn to attune yourself to this accumulative tension in the fascial system and what it's doing to your ability to rest? And so one of the assessments that we have is called the rest assess. And what we're assessing is how well you rest. And a lot of people, when they lie on their back, their body is practically hovering over the floor. They have so much tension that I'll say to them, take a breath in, and as you exhale, just scan your body with your mind and see if you can relax your shoulders and relax your thighs. And you'll see them start to go, oh. And I think to myself, so you have all of this tension that you are completely unaware of that you have. And that's the first step in changing it, is acknowledging that you can consciously soften stress in your body. You can take it away with your mind. And that's powerful, because we can always cause stress with our minds. We're very good at that. I mean, our minds are an incredible thing. They can be a problem solver, but they're actually the thing that causes the most problems. Our minds can cause problems faster than it can solve them.
Right.
Quite honestly, right? So that's the first step. And so in Melt, we call it the 4 R's protocol: reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, release. So the reconnect is really important, is just attuning yourself to what stress feels like. What is it doing to the fine balance of your body? How does stress hold in the system? Rebalancing techniques focus on breath work, on breaking down 3-dimensional breath and getting the full volume of the diaphragmatic contracture back. so that your lungs can fill fully so that you can oxygenate the system. Rehydrate, we use compression intentional techniques. We use soft tools, soft rollers, and soft hand and foot therapy balls to teach people how to stimulate the nervous system in these very gentle ways, but to also create tension compression in the fascial system. Because what's interesting is the very things that dehydrate fascia and cause the lack of elasticity, like when you sit for long periods of time, right? Stillness. We actually teach people that through tension and compression, you can actually rehydrate the tissue if you know how. So using these soft, gentle tools, we teach people to kind of, again, if you think of fascia like a sponge, how to work the fluid back into the sponge, get the circulation of the tissues moving. And then we teach people release, how to decompress the primary joint spaces, their neck, their low back, their hands and feet, the joints of their hands and feet, to bring better mechanoreception back to the spine, better sensory reception back to the brain. And people come up off the floor feeling much more balanced. And when they go to walk out, some people say, I feel like I'm floating out of this room. I feel like I'm in a new body. I say, it's not a new body. It's just one that's flown. You got flow back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a yoga and breathwork background. So very much,
You get me.
yeah, I get you. And in yoga, we hold, it's called samaskaras, when you're holding imprints in the body. And so as soon as you go through breath work and do certain movements and positions and stretches, that releases, and people can have very powerful emotional responses to them, because our issues are in our tissues, much like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a nice way to say it. Like we don't really, it's more metaphorical when people say emotions are trapped in fascia. But if you think of fascia more as a metabolic system rather than just a structural system, you start to really understand how tissue, when you have stress coming in and you sort of fight, flight, freeze, or please your way through it, that imprint is in the tissues. So they call that a somato-emotional release, that sometimes we can put our bodies into just the right position and breathe into it, where suddenly it brings something back up to the mind. And those emotional moments, some people call it fascial unwinding, where we unfurl ourselves from the trapped energy within the body, because fascia does store energy. And if you think of emotion as being the energy of motion, it's the thing that emotes it. It's what moves or gets stuck. So I do think that if we had to deal with all of our emotions just in our mind, we would all be on like Prozac when we were 8, just from what our parents were doing to us. You know what I mean? So we learn to cope, we get coping mechanisms. And the problem with coping mechanisms is it leaves you trapped in that same accumulative sense of tension. So it's interesting with clients who deal with a lot of pain, when you kind of get to the root of their story and you hear about how they were raised, and then you look at the relationships that they're in, they are very familial, they're very familiar, they're very seemingly like the parent of that they grew up with. And they don't realize how that can keep you trapped in a story. And so a lot of people, when they're in pain, are really trapped in a story. And so I always tell people that fascia, the imprint of the story, you can rewrite the story through your fascia. So it's just about tapping into the narrative and changing your mind about your body's state. And then you can change everything. So, again, I mean, I'm 55 now. When I was 25, I was waking up stiff, like I could barely walk. I would train so hard and I was so muscular, and, I was making magazine covers and things like that, but I was in pain. And then when I shot my first boot camp video, at every 7 minutes that we would get through something, I mean, my foot hurt so bad that I had to sit down, but then I get right back on and, okay, troops, let's go, So it was like, completely fraudulent. And I think that when I realized what was really going on and I addressed this healing aspect of my body and transformed how I felt, that was sort of where it was a big turning point for me in fitness, where I was like, I don't want to teach people the no pain, no gain things. I want to teach people how to heal their bodies and realize that a soft, gentle approach can actually transform you far faster and more powerfully than
and globally.
yeah, than just like spot working, or thinking you're going to like eradicate your cellulite by this, or, you're going to make your abs leaner with that. Is just be a conscious agent in your system, and realize that your physical being is a vessel that you dropped yourself into as a spirit, and you're occupying that body and utilizing the mind to have a human experience. So take care of this system. And when people have pain and you're looking at what they're really doing, sometimes they're lying to themselves. They're telling a story that's not real. They believe that I've done everything. I've done everything, and I'm so good at this and that, and I eat, a non-dairy, non-wheat, non-this, non-that. I take away this, I don't do that. And I'm like, so what do you do? Not much of anything. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why you're not feeling like you're in your body, like you're sacrificing everything, because we form beliefs about where we are, who we are. We're trying to, make our parents proud of us. We're trying to, have significance in the world. We're trying to level ourselves up in our work, or whatever it is. But sometimes that's very demoralizing to the physical body, because we just leave it aside. We, go to sleep too late. We eat not the greatest food. We don't drink water consistently. We're just on all the time. So I just think the invitation of Melt is, again, to just pause for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes a day. Let's tune into the fascial system. Let's check in its relationship. Think of fascia and your nervous system kind of like a superpower couple in the body. Make sure that their relationship is doing okay. Make sure that they're communicating. Make sure that they're in symbiotic flow with one another. And if you feel stiff, if you feel tense, if you don't feel relaxed, that's your cue. That's kind of like there's an argument going on in the household. And we need to work on that, because we all know that all relationships fail when communication stops. So this is the same.
You
is
have
that we just need to
great
communicate.
great teaching metaphors. And
you.
I'd actually like to go back to one. I have a kind of a psycho-emotional question, and then a very specific physical question that have come up in my head. And when people start the Melt method, because you said you can rewrite your story through your fascia, does it help with addiction?
Yes, very much so. Actually, addiction, addiction, from my experience, I mean, my husband died of an accidental overdose. So I actually have my own story about watching that happen to the person that I love, and realizing that what addiction is it's sort of a cure to something else, right? When people drink, it's actually curing the way that they feel, and they kind of sedate themselves. So the thing to really get at with an addictive personality, because I don't think that people are addicts. When people say I'm an addict, that's a label. And I don't like labels. I think that what we have is an addictive tendency. And when you have an addictive tendency, the question is why? And for a lot of people, they're not really willing to understand their story and what's been going on, and why actually that's a coping mechanism to something where they were feeling abandoned, they were feeling unseen, they were abused, there was something underpinning. And you have to have more than just talk therapy to overcome an addictive behavior. You really need to go into the physical body to transform an addictive state. There's just no other way around it, because I think what happens with a lot of people who just do talk therapy is they actually get more tied to the story.
Reliving it. Yeah.
They relive it all
over.
of the time. Right. Instead of recognizing, well, why wouldn't you feel that way? Look at what was going on. And so instead of ruminating in the past, which oftentimes happens with talk therapy, we can more reflect on it, and then make the comparison of how that's affecting you in the present moment. And what Melt is a way to get people back into presence, because this is where everything changes. You don't change things of the past. We can talk about it, but most of the time when somebody comes in and they're talking about their past and they're drudging up this horrible story, and I'll just stop them right now and I'll say, tell me what the problem for you is right now. What's your problem right now today? And they'll say, well, I don't really have a problem today. And I'm like, oh, well, Why don't we stay in the present moment where we have no problems? Why do we keep going in the past where those problems are?
That is awesome.
That we can't even do anything about. Like, we might as well stay here where there's no problems, and then we can work off of a non-problem place and get better, because our future will be better if you realize in the present moment that those things can't hurt you unless you keep going back and let them hurt you.
Right.
But if we can acknowledge them, and if we can acknowledge that what we do in the present moment kind of looks a lot like what somebody else was doing to me in the past, you can suddenly overcome it. So I've watched people who have been addicted to prescription medications, to drug addiction, to alcohol, to food, all sorts of things, and work their way out of it by recognizing that the way to get out of it is through community, through communication, and through presence.
Well, isn't that it's the same thing we do, like when you're talking about the pain in your neck, we attack the pain. But the substance, the balm, there's a pain somewhere, a discomfort. So we attack it with whatever the drug is, or whatever the fluid is, or the food, or
That's it.
Yeah, but instead of that first R, what is it? Recognition? Reconnecting with what that was, and only going back to it, like back in the past, to reconnect with, oh, that's the problem. But
to reflect on it. You want to reflect. It's like a mirror. I don't want to walk through the mirror. That's what rumination is that we jump through the looking glass and we stay in the energy of that. And a lot of times when people have addiction, and I'll try to get them into the present moment, they'll use words like, yeah, but yeah, but this, yeah, but that. I'm like, don't yeah, but me. You're a yeah, butter. You're yeah, butting yourself into the past. The only place where transformation happens is in the present moment. And most people who are addicted are not present. They have tuned the world out. They are living in a past experience. They are living in past frequencies. They cannot get present. And their words are even past tense. If you listen to somebody who has an addiction, a lot of their words are past tense words. Oh, well, yesterday I did. It's not I'm doing or I will do. So that's a big thing, is I think an addict is somebody who has an addictive tendency. If there's some way to get through to them that it's who you talk to and it's how you perceive the problem, is got to be something new. And again, I think that we don't put enough weight on how much the body and treating the physical being and caring for the vessel that we are living in can really make you more of a caring, conscious agent in a physical form, because we're more than the physical form. I think everybody knows that. We agree ahead of time, you're not going to take your body or your mind with you, right? People who say, yeah, I'll just do it in the next life. I don't know. I think you don't get this mind and you don't get this body. People who say that they have recollections of previous lives, is possible. I mean, I was a kid that kind of had a recurring dream. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that this life that you're living right now is the best life that
you have right now.
You have it right now. And the only way to make it better is by being present and being around people who lift you up, who acknowledge you, and having, again, a community that you can bounce ideas off of, because your world gets awfully small when you try to do things all on your own. And when you don't feel like you're supported, I mean, uncertainty is the mother of addiction, right? When we have uncertainty, if I told you, hey, Karen, I want you to walk across a ravine, I give you two options. You can walk over this 2x4, or you can walk over the bridge. Which would you pick?
Well, the bridge.
Yeah, well, but why? Because you have certainty that you're going to get to the other side safely.
I have experience of walking across rivers over logs. Definitely.
Yeah, you don't want to live a life with uncertainty. And I think that when you're afraid of your future, and that really means that you're not being present, right? When we're fearing the future, fear is the opposite of love. If we act in a state of fear, we mess shit up. If you act in a state of love, you have flow. So again, I think that for all of us, I think we need to really look at the relationships that we have. How are we moving through life? Am I happy with my job? Do I love the people that I'm around? Do I feel supported? Do I feel nurtured? Do I feel cared for? If the answer is no, you need to get a new group of friends. You can come over to the Melt Method. We'll be your
Yeah,
friends.
otherwise
We'll
you're
care for you.
you're going headlong into the future, dragging your past behind you.
That's it. It's like a lead
Yeah.
brick. Exactly right. And we practice and repeat stuff enough in our lives where a lot of us live in the past too much. It's true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was beautiful. You're totally speaking our language. But I have a very specific just curiosity because the lymphedema,
Yeah.
does this help with because there's like lymphedema is when Wendy, I don't know if are you do you know? Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
so for everybody listening, there's it's very different than regular edema because in lymphedema, due to surgery or injury or whatever, the lymphatic system gets cut off. So the lymph can't. It's like a jump in the train tracks. The lymph can't get past the jump, but in my mind, I was like, I wonder if that would help with lymphedema, with
Yeah.
working
So
with the fascia.
yeah.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so we do. So we actually in this study that we're working with the fascia hydrator, we have a couple of people who have lymphedema and lipedema, so both. And in both instances, they have a hard time in the movement of the interstitial fluids from fascia to lymph. So the thing that Dr. Carla Stecco and her research is really looking at, first of all, it tends to happen more to women than men by a lot. And they have a relationship to hormone dysregulation because your hormones are living in superficial fascia where all the superficial lymph are. So they're actually looking at superficial fascia as being a part of the problem causing lipedema and lymphedema. So what the fascia hydrator and also like the hand and foot therapy, we start everybody who has any type of lymphatic dysregulation, treat your hands and feet first. Alter again, because your autonomic nervous system is what is regulating your lymphatic system. It's controlling the lymph, right? So if we can go after the autonomic nervous system, boost repair and parasympathetic tone, that then can help hormone regulation, it can help lymphatic flow, it can move things in a different way. So the fascia hydrator, some of the results that we've been getting are kind of astounding because it's just this light vibration that you're just bringing over the skin that is stimulating the cells to move fluids. So it helps to ignite the fluid perfusion of fascia into lymph. So the interstitial fluids are often the
Oh,
bigger problem
brilliant.
than the lymphatic system itself. Like, why is the lymphatic system having trouble? They're now looking at fascia as actually playing the role of what's really going on to dysregulate the lymph is issues in the fascial system.
That's
That's cool.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's and anybody who's curious about that, if you just type in Dr. Carla Stecco, Stecco, and lymphedema, you're going to find her research. And she actually in 2019 discovered a new cell in fascia that they call the fasciocyte. So stop and think about that for a minute, right? We're in 2019, 2020, and we're still discovering cells in
Yeah.
our body because we
I
have
thought
a
we knew
common
everything already.
we thought we know everything, right? And then we say, if we knew everything about the nervous system and the fascial system, we would have no diseases, disorders. There would be no Parkinson's, no MS, nothing, because we could just fix everything. But that's the thing about the human body is it is a mystery. And the problem with research studies, and I said this, and I just did this presentation at the 7th International Fascia Research Congress, and we were talking about the problem with fascia is that it's hard to measure. And the way that we study the body is we study parts. There's really no technology out there just yet where you can study all systems everywhere in the body at the same time. And we're getting there with like these whole body fMRIs and things like that. Like there's all these things that are starting to come. And I think that that's where this idea of biohacking is both exciting and a little annoying because you hear these people being like, oh, like this is how you're going to live until you're 120. And I'm like, you know what? They're selling snake oil. I got to tell you, because look at what they look like and they all look a little bit beat to me. And they're mostly men who are telling you about how women are going to operate through your hormones. And I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of guys telling me that I'm going to move to a blue zone, red light therapy. I got to go in a sauna. I'm going to have to do jumping jacks for 10 minutes. I got to, swim 4 miles a day. Like, I mean, there's so many things to do. I got a life to live. I don't have time to be doing all these things. And who's got the money? Who's got the money to do it? I mean, all of these things are for rich people because rich people can spend money on bullshit. The regular people like us who work for a living, I don't have time to be moving to a blue zone and doing red light therapy in my house. I don't have that.
It's like, if only I could get back all of those years I spent trying to extend my life.
You know what I mean? That's exactly right. So I think that the best biohack is to get in your body.
Yeah.
Stop looking for the snake oil. Stop looking for something that you have to ingest to transform because our soil is terrible. Our food sources are for shit. We are not farming well. Regenerative farming is still slow to come. And I don't even understand that because it's so brilliant. I have a podcast called Anatomical Gangster, and I'm always talking to really smart people about ways to transform their health. And I got to tell you, there's so much great stuff out there, but a lot of it is unaffordable and unattainable for people who really need it. And what I know about people who are in severe pain, half of them don't have any money because they can't work. And now they're really stuck.
They're on disability.
We just spoke with somebody yesterday, like all of the free stuff. It's like we're doing the opposite of what we should be doing in so many ways. This woman, she's doing her PhD in urine therapy. It was fascinating, and it's
Like
free.
drinking.
Yeah, so I mean,
actually drinking and even.
Oh, we lost
wait,
her.
your sound.
Your sound disappeared.
Your sound cut out. Yeah. You could take
me?
it orally or rectally,
there.
and the stem
Rectally.
cells continue to replicate in your urine. Like, so the older it is, the more stem cells, and the stem cells go everywhere, and it's specific to you because it's yours. You made it, like you said. There's so many messages, but I love what you're saying because it's free. And it's how we're supposed to be living, and we've been guided away from the way we're supposed to be living. So you mentioned anatomical gangster, RNegade. I love outlaw, gangster. I love those words like that. Yeah, totally. It so appeals to me. Is there any research that nurses listening, if
I
they
hear you now.
I wonder
Now
if
all of
it's
a sudden,
me.
can I hear you?
Oh, can you hear me?
Can everybody hear everybody?
Okay.
Now I
I
can
can
hear.
hear.
Well, I could hear, like, I'm the keeper of the sound, so I could hear. And anyway, is there any nurses who want to know more about the melt method, but fascia in general? Are there any research studies that make all that they like kind of bring all the things that you're talking about together? Any research that has fascinated you, or
There's so much. I
is
mean,
there?
Dr. Stephen Porges, Dr. Robert Schleip, Carlos Stecco, Antonio Stecco. I was just at the 7th International Fascia Research Congress. So if you're really kind of like me and you want to go down the rabbit hole, I would just type in Fascia Research Society, and there you'll find links to research papers and all of the cutting edge research that's been happening over the past decade. And I guess my job, I think, is that I've kind of duly noted as my career job is I love reading scientific journals and papers. And so I read it and then I try to diffuse it down into regular words that the general public can understand.
C'est
And then
moi.
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And then I just try to explain it to them. And that's really what my education courses, like the hand and foot instructor training, is really the science of fascia and explaining it in a very digestible way, the link between the fascia autonomic nervous system and the lymphatic system, and taking all of this science and infusing it into a practice. So for me, fascia, when I really saw it beyond a connective tissue and I started seeing it as a sensory organ and a stability system, it kind of took on a new meaning to the wholeness of the body. And Jaap van der Wal would say that we should stop calling it connective tissue. I get it, it connects everything, so that's why we call it connective tissue. But he said we should call it the tissue of innerness.
Oh.
And I like that. You
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's this inner tissue that really, it is the biological fabric that our DNA used to create the roadmap to design you. So it is what shapes your
Communication.
body. It's
Yeah.
what shapes the body. It's what allows communication to happen, cell to cell, nerve to nerve, organ to organ. Fascia is a communication. It's a neuroelectrochemical semiconductor. And so it is transmitting force. And as a crystalline matrix, we know that it possesses a frequency that you can tune. And when it gets out of tune, just like an instrument, you can retune it. And that's what Melt is about, is just getting the tune back, the frequency back to that vital life force that if you look in Chinese medicine, when they talk about Jin Yi or Jin, life essence and life fluids, dare I say that fascia is the chi system that all of that ancient writing is about. They just didn't call it fascia,
Right.
but I would say that this global network that is completely inseparable from skin to bone, head to toe. I get in dissections, you can see layers, but if you're cutting it with a blade, we can call it fascia. But if you look at it under a microscope, the extracellular matrix is completely continuous. And on the Melt Method website, we support Dr. J.C. Gumberto's work, and he has a 12 conference collection on fascia and the nervous system. And I would say that Dr. J.C. Gumberto would change he is a medical doctor. He was a French hand surgeon. And
Ooh,
has
interesting.
yeah, and when he was trying to hold on to a tendon and the tendon wouldn't stay still because the gliding layers of fascia wouldn't stop moving. And then he suddenly was like, what is going on that I haven't really thought to see? But with these high confocal lasers and atomic force microscopy, they're seeing things at 50 times the naked eye now, and they're looking at fascia through these microscopes. So again, anybody that really is like, I really want to know the science of fascia, I would
Yeah.
go to Melt Method and I would go and check out Dr. J.C. Gumberto's course and take the 12 conference. Each conference is about 10 minutes long, and you will in about 12 hours I'm sorry, in about 2 hours, learn about fascia on a microscopic level. And if you're a nurse, I think it will completely change how you see the human body. And I hope that over time, also surgeons will learn more about what Dr. JC says. And instead of cutting so much, to just push the tissue once you open the skin, to just push the tissue away instead of cutting through it, because you'll create better healing and you create less of the imprint of the underpinning tissue, which I don't care what a scar looks like on the skin. The underlying substances, once you've been cut open, are forever changed. They never go back. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a hack job under the skin. So that's what we do a lot, is work on scar tissue and try to help people get the glideability back between the tissues.
Amazing.
Nice. I love seeing patterns and things. Another thing that keeps coming in my head is like mycelium. When
Yes. I
it's
have
like,
a, I have a, I have a TED talk called The Mycelium in Me. And I
get
think,
out of here.
yeah, and I really think if you look at fascia under a microscope, it
I
looks
just
like,
got chills.
yeah, it looks like sacred geometry. It looks like mycelium. And I really think it's just how we don't really realize how much mycelium is what communicates the trees to one another. It creates the communication. Fascia is the same. So it really is a conductive system that it's what allows intercellular communication to occur. We just haven't really seen it the way that it should be seen. And I think it really is because in anatomy, anatome is to cut stuff up, to define parts. But until you really take a 365-degree view back to how it all connects, you actually miss the essence of life force, is how things connect, not how things separate.
Yeah. Man, and I mean, if nothing else, if you don't go down the research rabbit hole and go to the foundation you talked about, whatever, I mean, you are a walking advertisement for taking care of your fascia. I mean,
Yes,
you
indeed.
glow, and you're exactly right. All those people, the biohacking and the take this and this, and they're at the people at Whole Foods with their supplement pill boxes, and they all look gray. you know?
They look a little gray.
They all look gray. Like, just go out and live, go in the sun, something,
Yeah, go walk on the beach, go breathe. I mean, I think if I had to give people three tips before we even end this, is three things I would tell everybody to do is get a little southern in your life and slow down. Slow down, try to chill out, get off your phones before you go to bed. Sip water frequently. That's really the secret of hydration in the cellular matrix, is to sip water more frequently. So just as an example, instead of waking up in the morning, popping all your pills, drinking a liter of water, and then not drinking for 3 hours, you'd be better off taking the liter of water and sipping it every 15 minutes. Over the course of 3 hours, your cells would stay more in abundance of flow than if you just drink a bunch of water and then don't drink for 3 hours.
Yeah,
So
and the energy that has to be spent with processing all of that fluid in a big bolus instead of just a little bit at a time, too.
That's right. That's right. You have to break down a water molecule too, right? So give your body time to do that and you'll get better transportation. The other thing is, if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, melting about an hour before people go to bed tends to help us go into the parasympathetic state and a waking state. And then when you finally go to bed, you get a little bit better night's sleep. And I mean, all the obvious things: get off your phone when you go into your bed. Your bed should be for two things: sleeping and sex. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing else should go on in a bed. Watching TV, go into your living room. I mean, really make a sanctuary for yourself. Rituals are really important. Winding down, right? Really taking the time at night to wind down rather than being on your computer until 11 o'clock and then thinking, okay, now I got to go to bed. I think if we created more loving rituals in life, we woke up and maybe we looked at a plant, and I mean, I go out onto my lanai and I just talk to all my awesome plants and tell them how beautiful they are. And I'm so glad that they look so fabulous. And what are we going to do today? And everybody thinks I'm crazy for talking to my plants. I hug my tree in the morning. But I think that these are just ways to connect to nature. And we are part of nature. We are a reflection of nature. And nowhere in nature are there straight lines. So there's no straight lines in the form. There's no straight lines in life. So go with that and find more rituals in your life that settle you in, quiet you down, and get you to find the blessing of the fact that you get to be on skin and get to be alive. And that's a gift.
Beautiful. And so if nurses want to they want to connect with you, if they want to learn all about all of the things, either for themselves or for their clients, it's your website. Is that where they start?
Yeah, Melt Method, MELT Method. And I'm also on social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, all those things. And you can also find SueHitzmann.com. That's my personal website. And we're always doing events and retreats. We've got one coming up in Costa Rica. I think there's one room left in that.
Where in Costa Rica?
We're going to go to Nosara at Blue Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to have our Melt for Pilates co-creator Hallie Altman there, and Carrie Bodendorf, who does Groove. And so really we have an incredible community. So like I say, if you ever feel stuck or you're not really sure who to ask questions, you're not really sure what to do, just come over to the Melt Method and we'll help. We're very active on social. I answer questions. I mean, this pilot study that we're doing right now for the fascia hydrator, I'm probably answering 50 questions a day. And it's just awesome that people are so curious about how to empower themselves, how to really care for themselves. And like you said, I mean, I feel like a walking poster child for well-being and resilience, and going from a place of, I think it was a blessing for me that I got into pain so young, because
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I've gone 25 years feeling amazing.
And looking exactly the same. So that's
Yeah, and that's what people say. You look
tell
exactly
me
the
again,
same.
that thing in Nosara is when? I live in Costa Rica part-time. So
Yeah, it's Blue Spirit, and I think it's November 1st to the 7th.
okay.
Yeah,
Just in case I'm in town.
yeah.
Oh, you said there's only one left, but okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Stay on. We're gonna cut this off because otherwise I'll go down and you are a sparkly object to be distracted by, and we gotta give you your time back and edit this eventually because I keep going on. But please stay on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Karen.
Everybody enjoy Sue Hitzmann. Renegades.